Redwood Penitentiary. The name itself sends chills down your spine. It's a place where hope goes to die, where the air is thick with the stench of suffering and despair. Built in 1850, this imposing structure has borne witness to over a century of unimaginable horrors. Its stone walls hold the memories of countless lost souls, their agonized cries forever etched into the very foundation of the prison. Over 50,000 souls breathed their last within these walls, each one leaving behind a residue of pain and terror. The stories are legion, whispered in hushed tones by those brave enough to utter them. Tales of brutal guards, inhumane punishments, and unspeakable acts of violence echo through the corridors. The weight of so much suffering has seeped into the very fabric of Redwood, transforming it from a place of confinement into a breeding ground for the paranormal. It's no wonder that Redwood Penitentiary has earned the chilling title of the most haunted prison in the world. Even the bravest souls would hesitate to step foot within its cursed grounds after nightfall. Yet, here I stand, ready to face the darkness head-on. I'm here to confront the unknown, to delve into the heart of this paranormal abyss and expose its secrets to the world. Tonight, I dare to spend the night within Redwood's haunted halls. I've heard the whispers, seen the grainy images, and felt the chill of fear crawl down my spine as I researched this forsaken place. But nothing can truly prepare you for the oppressive reality of Redwood. It's a place where the veil between our world and the next wears thin, where the spirits of the tormented roam freely. As I step through the rusted iron gates, a shiver runs down my spine. The air grows heavy, laden with the weight of countless tormented souls. The world outside seems to fade away, replaced by an unnerving silence that magnifies every creak and groan of the ancient structure. I can almost feel the despair clinging to the cold, damp stone walls, a palpable presence that sends shivers down my spine. My heart pounds in my chest, a drumbeat of fear and anticipation. I'm armed with my trusty camera and a backpack full of equipment designed to detect and document paranormal activity. EMF readers, EVP recorders, and infrared cameras are my only companions in this desolate wasteland of human suffering. But technology can only offer so much protection against the raw, primal terror that permeates this place. Despite my fear, a flicker of excitement ignites within me. This is the culmination of years spent chasing shadows, seeking answers to the mysteries that lie beyond our understanding. Tonight, I have the opportunity to confront the unknown head-on, to peel back the layers of fear and doubt and expose the truth that hides within these haunted walls. As I take a deep breath and steel myself for the long night ahead, I can't shake the feeling that I'm being watched. Every shadow seems to writhe and contort. Every whisper of wind through the broken windows sounds like a mournful sigh. I am a trespasser in a realm of the dead, and they are aware of my presence. The beam of my flashlight cuts through the oppressive darkness, illuminating dust motes dancing in the stale air. Each step echoes through the cavernous space, a stark reminder of the emptiness that surrounds me. I lay down my backpack, its weight oddly comforting in this place devoid of human touch, and begin to unpack my equipment. The familiar ritual of preparing my tools helps to settle my nerves. I check the batteries on my EMF reader, its digital display glowing a reassuring green in the gloom. Next, I set up the EVP recorder, placing it carefully on a rusted metal table in the center of the cell block. Its microphone seems to hum with anticipation, eager to capture the whispers of the dead that I can already sense swirling around me. Finally, I adjust the settings on my infrared camera, its lens promising to pierce the veil of darkness and reveal what my human eyes cannot perceive. With each piece of equipment I activate, I feel a surge of adrenaline, a mixture of fear and exhilaration that propels me forward into the unknown. These tools are my lifeline to the other side, the bridge between the tangible and the spectral. They are my shield against the darkness, but also my window into the secrets it holds. With them, I am no longer merely a visitor in this haunted realm, but an investigator, a seeker of truth. An unsettling silence hangs heavy in the air, broken only by the distant drip of water from a leaky pipe. It's a silence that seems to press in on me, amplifying every creak of the floorboards beneath my feet and the rustling of unseen creatures in the walls. The air itself feels thick and heavy, laden with the weight of untold suffering. I move cautiously down a long, narrow corridor, my flashlight beam dancing over rows of barred cells. Each one is empty, yet I can't shake the feeling that I'm being watched. The silence is deceptive, a mask concealing the unseen horrors that lurk just beyond my perception. It's as if the prison itself is holding its breath, waiting for me to make a wrong move, to let my guard down. I pause, listening intently for any sound that might betray the presence of the unseen. A cold draft whispers past my ear, sending a shiver down my spine. Is it just the wind whistling through a broken window, or something more sinister? I can't be sure, and that uncertainty is more unsettling than any noise. The silence is a living thing, pulsating with an energy that I can feel vibrating in my bones. It's the silence of anticipation, of dread, of a predator stalking its prey. And I am the prey. As I venture deeper into the bowels of the prison, the air grows colder, the smell of decay more pronounced. The silence is occasionally broken by the faintest of sounds. A floorboard groaning under an unseen weight, a muffled whisper that seems to emanate from the very walls themselves. These subtle disturbances send shivers down my spine, each one a chilling reminder that I am not alone. My senses are on high alert, my eyes constantly scanning the darkness for any sign of movement. I catch a flicker of motion in the corner of my eye and swing my flashlight towards it, my heart pounding in my chest. But there's nothing there. Was it just a trick of the light, or something more sinister? I press on, drawn deeper into the labyrinthine corridors by a force I can't quite explain. The whispers grow louder, more insistent. I strain to make out words to decipher the messages carried on the ethereal breeze. Are they warnings, pleas for help, or something far more malevolent? I stop in front of a cell door, its rusted bars hanging open like a gaping maw. The name Malcolm is etched into the peeling paint, the letters scratched deep into the metal, as if carved with desperate fury. This was his domain, the place where he spent his final days consumed by madness and despair. And now, I sense his presence lingering here, a palpable aura of malice and rage. The whispers intensify, swirling around me like a vortex of tormented souls. I close my eyes, focusing on the sounds, trying to make sense of the chaos, and then I hear it. A name, spoken with chilling clarity. Get out. The deeper I ventured into Redwood, the more the prison seemed to come alive around me. It wasn't a comforting, welcoming kind of life. It was a symphony of the macabre, a chorus of whispers and groans that set my teeth on edge. Each step I took was punctuated by the creak of floorboards, a sound that echoed down the desolate corridors, like the mournful cries of the damned. I could feel the weight of their presence bearing down on me, suffocating me in an atmosphere of sorrow and despair. The air itself felt heavy, thick with the stench of decay and the lingering scent of fear. It clung to my skin like a shroud, sending chills down my spine that had nothing to do with the cold. I pressed on, my flashlight beam cutting through the oppressive darkness, desperate to uncover the source of the unsettling noises that surrounded me. Doors creaked open on their own, revealing empty cells that reeked of suffering and despair. Shadows danced at the edge of my vision, fleeting glimpses of movement that vanished as quickly as they appeared. The prison was alive, but it was a grotesque parody of life, a twisted reflection of the horrors it had witnessed over the centuries. It was a place where the veil between our world and the next had worn thin, where the spirits of the tormented roamed freely, their anguish echoing through the halls. I paused at the end of a particularly eerie corridor, drawn by an inexplicable pull towards a heavy steel door. The air here felt even colder, the silence more profound. This was the solitary confinement wing, a place where the most dangerous and disturbed inmates were kept isolated from the world. And it was here, in this desolate wing, that I encountered the chilling presence of Malcolm. Even his name, scrawled in what appeared to be dried blood on the cell door, sent shivers down my spine. Malcolm, the most notorious inmate Redwood had ever housed, a man whose crimes were whispered in hushed tones, a bogeyman conjured up to frighten even the most hardened criminals. A wave of nausea washed over me as I raised my hand to touch the cold steel of the door. I could feel an oppressive weight pressing down on me, a malevolent energy that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. It was as if Malcolm's spirit was reaching out from beyond the grave, eager to share his darkness with the living. Taking a deep breath, I pushed the door open, my flashlight beam cutting through the suffocating darkness. The cell was small and bare, furnished only with a cot, a toilet, and a rusted metal sink. But it was the energy within that cell that sent chills down my spine. It was a palpable presence, a suffocating aura of malice and rage that seemed to cling to every surface. I stepped inside Malcolm's cell, my heart pounding in my chest. The air was thick with the stench of decay and despair, a potent cocktail that made my stomach churn. The silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of my own ragged breathing. It was as if the very air was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. And then it hit me. A wave of cold air washed over me, so intense that I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. It was accompanied by a feeling of dread so profound that it threatened to crush me. I knew with every fibre of my being that I was not alone. I swung my flashlight around the cell, desperately searching for the source of the cold. But there was nothing there. The cell was empty, just as it had been for decades. And yet, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that something unseen was standing right beside me. The temperature plummeted further, and I could feel a presence drawing closer. It was then that I felt it, a cold, clammy hand closing around my wrist. It was an icy grip, devoid of any warmth or life, and it sent a surge of primal fear coursing through my veins. The icy grip on my wrist tightened, sending a jolt of fear through my body. I tried to pull away, but the grip was inhumanly strong, like a vice clamping down on my bones. My flashlight clattered to the floor, plunging the cell into darkness, except for the faint glow emanating from my camera's night vision mode. That's when I saw it. A hazy, spectral hand, almost skeletal in its appearance, held me fast. It emanated from the shadows in the corner where Malcolm's cot once stood, the air around it shimmering with a cold, unnatural light. Terror, raw and primal, surged through me, threatening to overwhelm my senses. I struggled against the grip, my heart pounding against my ribs like a frantic bird trapped in a cage. My mind, still clinging to logic, screamed that this couldn't be real, that there had to be a rational explanation. But deep down, I knew the truth. I had stumbled into something ancient and evil, a force that had been lying dormant within these walls, waiting for an unsuspecting soul to prey on. The pressure on my wrist intensified, and I cried out, the sound echoing through the empty cell, swallowed by the oppressive darkness. The grip began to feel as though it were crushing my bones, the pain a searing reminder of the very real danger I was in. This was no parlor trick, no figment of my imagination. This was real, and it was terrifying. The pain in my wrist was excruciating, a burning, throbbing sensation that radiated up my arm. I thrashed against the unseen grip, my struggles only seeming to fuel the entity's power. Panic clawed at the edges of my mind, threatening to send me spiraling into a vortex of fear. My camera, still clutched in my free hand, captured my descent into terror. My eyes wide and wild, my mouth contorted in a silent scream. The green glow of the night vision illuminated the cold sweat beading on my forehead. The sheer terror etched on my face. I could feel my sanity slipping, the line between reality and nightmare blurring with every passing second. The air grew heavy, making it difficult to breathe. The stench of decay intensified, filling my nostrils with the cloying sweetness of death. It was as if the prison itself was feeding off my fear, growing stronger with every panicked heartbeat. I knew that if I succumbed to the terror, if I let the darkness consume me, I would be lost. This entity, this thing that held me captive, fed off fear, and I was determined to starve it, even as my body screamed at me to give in. Through the haze of fear and pain, a single thought pierced the darkness. Malcolm. His name, etched in blood on the cell door, flashed in my mind. Was it his tormented soul that held me captive? Was this his revenge on the living? A final act of defiance from beyond the grave? "Malcolm!" I cried out, my voice hoarse and desperate, the name echoing in the small confined space. The grip on my wrist tightened for a moment, as if in response, sending another jolt of pain through me. I looked from the spectral hand to the name on the wall, a desperate hope flickering within me. If this entity was indeed Malcolm, perhaps there was a way to appease him, to reason with him. I had to try. "Malcolm," I repeated, my voice calmer now, steadier. "I mean you no harm. I am just here to understand." The words felt hollow even to my own ears, a desperate plea in the face of overwhelming darkness. As I spoke, I noticed a change in the atmosphere of the cell. The oppressive weight that had been pressing down on me seemed to lift slightly. The icy grip on my wrist remained, but the crushing pressure eased, replaced by a strange tingling sensation. Suddenly, I was released. The spectral hand vanished as quickly as it had appeared, leaving behind only a lingering chill and the echo of my own racing heartbeat. I stumbled back, my legs weak beneath me, and crashed against the cold stone wall of the cell. Disoriented and terrified, I scrambled to my feet. The camera, still clutched in my hand, captured my frantic escape from the cell, the footage shaky and distorted. The corridor outside, once familiar, now seemed like a labyrinth, the walls appearing to warp and breathe in the green glow of the night vision. Panic surged through me once more, fueled by the knowledge that I was hopelessly lost in the bowels of this haunted prison, the entity that had held me captive still lurking somewhere in the darkness. I stumbled through the corridors, my breath catching in my throat with every echoing footstep. The air grew colder, the shadows deeper, as if the prison itself were closing in around me. The walls seemed to press in on me, their cold, damp surfaces pulsing with an unseen energy that made my skin crawl. The whispers that had haunted me earlier now morphed into guttural moans and anguished cries, echoing through the desolate halls. They seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, swirling around me like a vortex of tormented souls. I clapped my hands over my ears, desperate to shut out the sound, but it was no use. The screams seemed to penetrate my very skull, burrowing into my consciousness. Fear, raw and primal, propelled me forward. I had to escape this labyrinth of despair, this prison of shadows that threatened to swallow me whole. But the corridors all looked the same, a never-ending maze of cold stone and rusted bars, designed to break the spirit and crush the soul. My flashlight beam danced erratically over the walls, illuminating fleeting glimpses of horror, scratched messages of despair, crude drawings of tortured faces, and what appeared to be bloody handprints that seemed to reach out from the darkness, grasping for me with icy fingers. Just when I thought I could take no more, that the darkness would consume me entirely, I saw it. A faint glimmer of light flickering in the distance. Hope, like a lifeline thrown to a drowning man, surged through me. I stumbled towards it, my heart pounding in my chest, my breath coming in ragged gasps. As I drew closer, the light grew stronger, illuminating a doorway at the end of a seemingly endless corridor. I stumbled through it, my hand outstretched, desperate to escape the oppressive darkness that had held me captive for what felt like an eternity. I emerged into a large open space, my eyes struggling to adjust to the sudden influx of light. It was the main cell block, the heart of Redwood Penitentiary. I recognized it from the photographs I had studied, the images that now seemed like distant memories from another lifetime. But something was different. The air here, though still heavy with the stench of decay, felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted. The oppressive silence that had pervaded the rest of the prison was absent here, replaced by a strange stillness, an unsettling calm after the storm. As I stumbled out of Redwood Penitentiary, the first rays of dawn were painting the eastern sky in hues of pink and orange. It was a beautiful sunrise, full of promise and new beginnings, a stark contrast to the darkness I had just emerged from. The fresh air filled my lungs, tasting of freedom and a world untouched by the shadows that clung to the ancient prison. I stood there for a long moment, just breathing, letting the cool morning air wash over me, trying to erase the chill that had seeped into my bones. The prison loomed behind me, a dark silhouette against the brightening sky, a constant reminder of the horrors I had witnessed within its walls. My body ached, my muscles screamed in protest from the night of terror, but it was my mind that felt the most ravaged. The experiences within Redwood had left an indelible mark, a scar on my psyche that no amount of time could erase. I had gone into the prison seeking answers, hoping to unravel the mysteries of the paranormal, But what I found was more terrifying than anything I could have imagined. I had stared into the abyss, and the abyss had stared back. Driving away from Redwood, I could see the faces of the dead in my rearview mirror. Their hollow eyes seemed to follow me, their silent screams echoing in my ears. The events of the night played over and over in my mind, a macabre film reel that I couldn't turn off. Even now, days later, the feeling of that icy grip on my wrist lingers, a phantom sensation that sends shivers down my spine. The whispers still echo in the quiet corners of my mind, their meaning as elusive as the shadows that danced in the prison's corridors. I went into Redwood seeking the truth, but the truth, as they say, can be a terrifying thing. The paranormal is not a game, not a source of cheap thrills. It is a realm of darkness and despair, a place where the veil between our world and the next wears thin, where the spirits of the tormented roam freely. So, I leave you with this: be careful what you seek, for you might not like what you find. And if you ever find yourself contemplating a visit to Redwood Penitentiary, remember my words. Some doors are best left unopened. Some secrets are best left buried. The darkness that resides within those walls is not meant for mortal eyes.